Okay, I think I'm going to start. So, everyone, my name is Terry, and I'm part of the Triskell team. And today we are going to talk about something that is probably already causing some headaches for your organization, which is the retirement of Microsoft Project Online. So, we are going to give you the full picture, what is actually happening, what is the risk are if you delay, what's your real option look like, and how migration can be done properly without losing your data or your governance. And I am joined today by Angel Gomez, our head of sales at Triskell, and also the Triskell expert who is here to support the session and help answer questions at the end. So let us all get started. Alrighty, so just a few quick housekeeping notes before we dive in. The slides will be sent to you by email within the next day or two, so no need to take screenshots or notes on everything. The recording will also be available on demand, so you can rewatch it or share it with colleagues who could not join us today. And if you have any questions, please type them in the chat. You can see the chat box shown on the slide, and everyone is on mute so we can move through the content smoothly. And we will address all questions at the end. Okay, so let us get into it. So, here is what we're covering today. We have 5 sections. So, first, what the project online retirement actually means for you and your organization. So, not just the date, but what it really is affecting you. Second, the business impact and risk of delay migration, because we are already seeing organizations get caught out. Third, your migration options, let's say Microsoft ecosystem or move to a dedicated PPM platform. We will be honest about the trade offs. And fourth, why Triskell? Followed by a live demo so you can see the platform for yourself, and then we close it with Q&A. And also I wanted to properly introduce Angel Gomez. Again, he is the head of sales at Triskell Spain, and he's been working with organizations going through exactly this transition and will be available throughout to answer questions. Welcome, Angel.
Thank you, Terry, for the
So
introduction.
yeah. So
Thank you.
Microsoft has confirmed the end of life timeline. And as the subtitle says, the clock is really ticking. So let me walk you through this timeline. So, for example, we have April 1st, 2026. Microsoft stopped allowing new project online tenants. So, if you are on this call, you are already an existing user. But this date signals that Microsoft is not investing further in Project Online. Point number two, which is April the 2nd, and this one has already happened. So Microsoft ended support for SharePoint 2013 workflows. That is a governance gap right now. So if your approval chains, your stage gates, or your intake processes run on those workflows, they have already stopped working. And then the final deadline, September 30th. That is the shutdown date. So Project Online goes offline. Your data, your projects, your reports, all of it becomes inaccessible. Now, I know some of you are thinking that is still in a few months away, but a proper migration takes time to do right. So you need to inventory your data, you need to clean it, map it, configure the new environment, and then train your users. That is not a week's worth, which means if you have not started planning yet, now is the time. Okay, next slide, please. All right, so this slide is really, really important because the most common mistake organizations make is thinking this is just a tool swap. Find a new scheduling tool, move the files across, and then done. It is not. Project Online sits across 3 critical layers of how your organization manages work. First, you have the operational layer, your day to day work, task scheduling, dependencies, project baseline, resource assignments, timesheet. This is what your project managers use every single day. Second, the tactical layer, your PMO work, governance workflows, stage gates, resource capacity management, demand intake, reporting. So this is the engine room of your portfolio management. And the last thing, the strategic layer, data to make decisions. So, portfolio dashboards, KPI tracking, budget versus actual, strategic alignment views. This is what your executives rely on. If you only replace the operational layer and then you ignore the other two, your governance breaks, your reporting goes dark, and your executive lose visibility. So, that is not a migration, that is a step backwards. So, a proper migration addresses all three layers, and that is exactly what we are going to talk about. So, what does this actually like when things go wrong? Okay, so let me walk you through to the four impacts your executives will notice first. Portfolio visibility blackout. So, your review decks become manual again. Someone is building them in PowerPoint the night before the board meeting. They are inconsistent, they are out of date before they even finished. And leadership starts questioning whether IT has control of the situation. You have the resource planning regression. So, capacity planning falls back to spreadsheets. And when you are managing multiple projects with shared resources, spreadsheets miss conflicts until it is too late. So, you only find out someone is overallocated when they miss a deadline. Compliance risk. So, missing historical data or broken audit traits can jeopardize compliance requirements, especially for regulated industries. So, if you cannot prove what was approved, when did this happen, by whom, then that is the real exposure. And the last one is shadow IT proliferation. So, this is quite one that sneaks up on you, whether without a central system, people start keeping their own local project files, their own trackers, their own Excel sheets, and suddenly you have 10 versions of the truth instead of one, and no one knows which one is accurate. So all four of these are avoidable, but only with a proper migration plan. So this is the heat map. This is the heat map out of the five biggest risks for organizations that delay or, let's say, rush their migration. So let me just walk you through each row. First, you have the governance disruption. Of course, high impact, high likelihood, your approval chains fail. Project starts moving forward without the right sign-offs because nobody knows where the bottleneck is. This is already starting to happen for organizations that had workflows on SharePoint 2013. Then you will have reporting downtime. Again, high impact, high likelihood. Your portfolio dashboards go dark overnight. Executives are asking for the status report, and there is nothing to show them. Now you have SharePoint 2013 workflows. Medium impact, but very high likelihood. And that dark red box is there for a reason. This has already happened. April 2nd was the cutoff. If your workflows were on SharePoint 2013, they already have stopped. Now for the custom field loss, high impact, medium likelihood. This catches organizations by surprise. So your custom fields in Project Online do not automatically map to any target platform. They need to be manually identified, mapped, and then transformed. Miss this step and then you lose all the data. And finally, data quality debt, high impact, high likelihood. Every organization has a messy data in Project Online. Projects that were never properly closed, resources that were never updated, data that was entered, inconsistently over the years. So that messy data becomes a migration blocker if you do not clean it up before you move. So the pattern across this heat map is really, really clear. The longer you wait, the more of this risk materialize. So now you have two main paths. So let me just walk you through both honestly. Option A, staying in Microsoft ecosystem, three tools you have to consider. You have Microsoft Planner, which is the green tick, modern user experience, Copilot AI, native to Teams. It is clean, it is simple. The red cross. You don't have any resource management, no timesheet, no cost tracking. If all you need is basic task management, Planner works. If you need enterprise PPM, it does not. Project for the web. better. You have advanced Gantt chart, Copilot integration, M365 native, but still limited governance because no financials and also they only have basic resource management, an improvement over Planner, but still not a full PPM replacement. Then you will have Project Server, full enterprise PPM, supported until 2031 and beyond, but it is on premise or self hosted. And the setup costs are really, really significant. So for many organizations, the local cost of ownership of Project Server actually exceeds moving to a cloud PPM platform. And then you have option B. It is a dedicated PPM tool, all green ticks. So enterprise portfolio prioritization, strategic alignment to OKRs, governance workflows without needing Power Apps development, multi-methodology supports agile, waterfall, hybrid, and enterprise-grade resource and financial management. So neither option is automatically wrong, but the question is, what does your organization actually need from a project management platform going forward? Okay, so this table gives you a side-by-side comparison. So let me just highlight the rows that matters most for an enterprise audience. So first, we have portfolio management. So Triskell is native full PPM, Planner is limited, Project for the web is basic. Only Project Server matches Triskell here, but as we discussed, with significant infrastructure overhead. Governance workflows. So this is really a critical one. Triskell is configurable, no code. In Planner, you need to go via the Power Platform, which means development work, licensing, maintenance in project. And in project for the web is really, really limited because this row alone is often the deciding factor for PMO teams. Then you have strategic alignment and OKRs. Native in Triskell, not available in Planner, not available in project for the web, not available in project server. If connecting IT delivery to business strategy is on your roadmap, only Triskell supports this natively. Then we have cost and financial tracking. Native in Triskell, not available in Planner or Project for the web, only via add-ons in Project Server. So the pattern across this table is really, really consistent. Triskell covers the full enterprise PPM stack natively. The Microsoft tools requires workarounds, additional licenses, or development work to get the same place. Okay, okay, so let me just be direct about why we think Triskell is the right choice for organizations coming off project online, sorry. So first, strategic alignment. Your projects connect directly to your business objectives and then your OKRs. Your CIO can show exactly how IT investment contributing to the strategy in a board meeting, in a budget review at any time. Then you have the resource driven execution. You plan with your actual team capacity in mind. Conflicts surface before they become delays, not after. You have governance without complexity, configurable workflows and stage gates, no coding required. What take months to build in Power Platform takes days to configure in Triskell. You have financial transparency. So budget versus actuals at every level, from individual task up to full portfolio. Chargeback, cost tracking, vendor milestone payments, all in one place. And delivery methodologies, whether your team works waterfall, agile, or hybrid, Triskell supports all three. So you do not have to force everyone into one way of working. Replacing project online is not just a risk to manage, it is an opportunity to modernize. And that is what Triskell is built for. So the question I always get at this point is okay, but how painful is the migration itself? So, here, what we did is that we have structured this as a 12-week program, 5 phases. So, let me just walk you through each one. So, you have phase zero, it is like a discovery and target design. We sit down together, align on what your target state looks like, your governance model, which teams pilot first, what your dashboard and workflows need to look like. No assumptions, of course, no guessing. Phase one is data inventory and cleanup. So this is where we tackle the data quality that from the risk heat map. You do not want to migrate messy data into a clean system. We identify what is worth migrating and then clean what needs to be cleaned first. Then you have phase two, export strategy and staging. So controlled extraction of your project online data with versioning and auditability. Nothing gets lost, nothing gets overridden without a record. Then you have phase three, mapping and transformation. So this is where we translate your project online structure into Triskell model. Your custom fields, your workflows, your resources, your financial data. So this is the most technical phase, and the one we're having done this before really matters. And phase four is Triskell configuration. So setting up your workflows, financial models, dashboard exactly as you need them, ready for go live. So 12 weeks, structured, and we do it with you, not just for you, and then your team understands the system by the end of it. So not just us. So key takeaways. So before we go into the live demo, let me give you 5 things I want you to take away from this session, regardless of what you decide next. Okay. So you have point number one. Project Online retires on the 30th of September. SharePoint 2013 workflows have already stopped as of April 2nd, and this is not a future problem. Part of it is already here. Point number two, delayed migration risk, portfolio visibility blackouts, resource planning regression, and compliance exposure. So these are not hypothetical. We are seeing them happening right now. Number three, Microsoft successor options cover basic needs but may not match your enterprise portfolio governance requirements. So be honest with yourselves about what you actually need from a project management platform. Number four, we have a dedicated PPM platform like Triskell. It provides you strategic alignment, governance, and financial management out of the box. So no power platform development, no workarounds. And five, a structured 12-week migration roadmap protects your data integrity, your governance, continuity, and your user adoption. So on my side, enough talking about it. Let's just, hello, Angel will have to do the demo for today.
So thank you so much, Terry, for this, this presentation so far. I think is quite clear. All that content. I would like to share with you some features directly in a quick live demo. So let me share my screen. Let me switch to the tool. I'm going to share Triskell. I guess you are watching now. Yes, to double check. So again, one unique technology, one platform, one consistent look and feel. That the Twiskel, promise. This is our leitmotif. And again, this is not just to migrate product online in another scheduled solution. This is even an opportunity to redefine and to use different features like resource management, cost tracking, strategic management, and so on. Okay. So as you can see here in my screen now, we have a multi-portfolio approach. You can define several portfolios, and maybe one of the main, we have always the same question regarding a master plan view. So in Twisted, you can have that kind of global view, global GAN to review how is the planning for several portfolios. And you can even review and detect different relations between different projects or products. I will talk about that later, but because our portfolios are heterogeneous portfolios, by here in that view, you can review, different relations, different dependencies, and so on. Not just project. You can even select here that you would like to see, for example, the key milestone or the key gates or the key phases you have in your projects, and you can even add here more information in your tree view. Okay, with key information regarding the projects and the milestones and so on. So here we have, again, a solution that supports a multi-portfolio approach. You can have in a single view your planning with different indicators, indicators regarding the progress, the cost, the scoring, dates, baselines, and so on. Okay. I would like to say that supporting the 30's explanation before, if you open, for example, a project, we can have different kind of projects, and we can support different workflows. And I would like to highlight that this is a non-code or low-code solution. When you open a project at Triskell, you're going to have that kind of overviews with all the information regarding the project in terms of money, or for example, the risk matrix, or maybe about the late tasks or the next deliverable you have in your project. Okay, so you can define your own overview to to control your project, and as you can see here, you can even define several work items in your project. Regarding the Gantt chart, I think is one of the key things when we are talking about migration from project online. I would like to say that we have a really Gantt really project oriented. I mean, when we decide to implement the Gantt, is quite similar. We have even some key features. I would like to say that, for example, in our GAN, we have heterogeneous GAN. We have a multi-object GAN. As you can see here in my GAN, I have different icons. For example, this one is a milestone, a gate. That one is a phase. That one initialization is a task. This is a project initialization is a document, a deliverable. So the key thing is that you can, put all your work items together in your planning. And if I open, for example, the task form, I will have all the task information, and I can even implement a workflow to review, to control, to follow up the process for that task. Okay. And again, our GAN is quite similar. If you are using Project Online, you will see that if you double click in the task, you're going to open the form with the task information or the object information. You can create several baselines. You can import, export, NPP files. So even in our process, we have a lot of customers that they are in the process to migrate Project Online to Triskell, and we are using different mechanisms to import all the information in a really easy way. Okay, so this is about some key features regarding the scheduling. But again, I would like to say again that it's not just about the scheduling or the Gantt chart features. It's about all the cost tracking in the tree scale in one single place, the possibility to define the project workflow with the different roles and different permissions and so on, alerts, all that kind of things, and even to have a place to handle pretty well your resources. So we have uh, several features regarding the resource management. You can you can define your project tool, and you're going to have that kind of heat maps to review where are the people assigned, in which tasks, in which deliverables, in which risks, and so on. So this is a very quick overview about the solution. We are more than happy to, if you would like to go in deep, maybe in a specific session, we are more than happy to show to you more. But here again, the message is one technology, one platform, like one consistent look and feel, and one single place to handle projects, resources, cost tracking, portfolio management, and so on. So let me go back to the presentation. And let's move forward with okay. Sorry, yours.
Yes, perfect. So
Thank
thank you
you.
so much, Angel,
Welcome.
for the demo. So a few things worth calling out specifically. So Triskel covers the full spectrum from strategic goals and OKRs all the way down to task, backlogs, risk, and issues. You are not buying a portfolio tool that does not talk to your project level. Time-based financial management, waterfall, agile and hybrid planning, advanced scenario modeling, Kanban, stage gates, all native, all configurable, no coding. and it is built to grow with you. So you start where you need to start and layer it in more as your maturity develops. Okay, so a quick look. Okay, sorry. Yes, this one. Thank you. So, a quick look of what we are. We are 200 plus customers across 12 countries, 250,000 trained users, 60 plus staff members, 50 plus offices and partners worldwide, and 100% annual growth over the last 3 years. So, that last number is relevant to everyone on this call because a significant part of the growth is coming from exactly the situation you are in right now. So, organizations migrating off project online who need a proper enterprise PPM platform. We have done this many times, so we know where the risks are. So, Triskell is built for organizations going through digital and agile transitions. So, easy to use, quick to implement, faster return on investment, modern SaaS platform, no coding, configuration. And your team manages it independently once it is set up. Okay. So you are not dependent on us every time something needs to change. Okay, so for those of you who evaluate tools through an analyst report, Triskell is recognized by Gartner in their market guide for enterprise agile planning software and by Forrester in their Nowtech report for strategic portfolio management tool. And we are also safe partner platform. We are present in 14 countries and it is available in 11 languages. So this is mature, recognized platform with a strong international track record. And of course, here are some of the organizations that trust Triskell to manage their portfolios today and across financial services, manufacturing, pharma, public sector, and technology. If any of these names are relevant references points for your organization, our team is happy to connect you with a peer reference after this session. Just let us know in the chat, okay? And now that brings us to the part I know a lot of you are waiting for. We have had questions coming through the chat during the session. Thank you for those. Let me just start working through them now. Okay, we have one question. It is asking what are the most significant capability gaps between project for the web, and dedicated PPM platform like Triskell. So particularly around portfolio visibility and resource management. So a great question, and actually exactly what the comparison table we showed earlier was designed to answer. So the two biggest gaps are portfolio visibility and resource management, right?
Hmm.
Which are ironically the two things that matter most to a PMO. With
Actually,
Planner,
I will even add, cost tracking as well.
yeah. So with Planner and Project for the web, you get task visibility. You can see what it is happening inside one project. But the moment you need to zoom out and ask, what is the health of my entire portfolio? Where are my budget variances? Which programs are at risk? Then those tools simply do not have that view. You would need to build it manually, let's say like in Power BI or Excel, and then maintain it. On resource management, of course, obviously, Planner has none. Project for the web has basic resource assignment, but no capacity planning, no over allocation, alerts, no view across projects. In Triskell, these are all native. You see resource conflicts before they become delays directly inside your plan. So the gap is not small. It is the difference between a task tool and an enterprise PPM platform. Okay. Okay. I hope I answered that clearly. We have another question. Uh, what historical data is most at risk during migration, and what formats should organizations export before the deadline? Okay, this one, it's really important practical question. So thank you for this one. The data, the data most at risk falls into three categories, by the way. You have custom fields because they do not map automatically to any target platform. So if you do not document every custom field you have built in Project Online before you migrate, you will lose the data structure. Now, speaking of timesheet history, you mentioned about that, actual hours logged against tasks over the years. So this is often needed for compliance and for baseline comparison. So it needs to be exported in a structured format before shutting down. And of course, again, you have the workflow history, the record of who approved what I mentioned earlier, when, which stage. So this is your audit trail. Once Project Online shuts down, that history is gone, unless, of course, you have exported it. So in terms of formats, I mean, personally, I would suggest export your project data. It could be in XML or CSV, your financial data to Excel or CSV, up to you, and your workflow history to a structured reporting for I mean, report format before September 30th. So do not leave it to the last week because you will lose them all. Okay. We have more questions. We have not. I think we don't have any more questions, guys, and I think we're running out of time. And thank you so much again for joining this webinar. Really appreciate it. And again, after this session, we will be sending the recording. You will receive an email. If there is any questions that you forgot, please do not hesitate to email us, and we will answer as quickly as we can. Okay? Thank you. Have a great day.